What's up everyone, it's Colin from DIY Guy and welcome to the groundbreaking of my Kiowa blackberry bed. Today is the day where I officially become a blackberry farmer. Okay, that may have been a little extreme. This is really just a small starter blackberry bed. I really want to try my hand at growing blackberries just to make sure I can do it before I actually sink money into starting kind of a larger scale farm. So I'll post a YouTube video every once in a while just to give you an update on the blackberries and how they're doing. But if you really want to follow this closely, check out my DIY Guy page on Instagram. That's where I'll be posting to my story a little more regularly and you can kind of follow it there. So let's get into it. Behind me is my blackberry trellis. You can see I've got two posts. They're about probably 12 feet apart. And I've sunk them and anchored them into the ground about a foot with concrete footings, and then I strung two cables across the way, and this is going to serve as the trellising for the blackberry canes. So as they grow up, I'll be wrapping the canes around these cables so they don't just go everywhere. I'm going to try to keep it nice and neat and organized. Now the soil here is actually really good for growing blackberries. It's kind of that sandy, loam, well-draining soil, and I'm also on top of a hill so I don't have to worry about like puddling or anything. All the excess water is just going to go down the hill. Unfortunately though, the pH of this soil is about 7.5, and I need it to be a little lower, down in the 6 to 7 range. That's kind of what Kiowa blackberries and blackberries in general like. These are the blackberry plants I got. I got them online at Ison's Nursery. I'll put the link in the description below. They're dormant right now, and they actually have some sort of like a water gel in them to keep them moist, but they're supposed to be planted within a week of arrival. So I just got them Saturday, so I'm wanting to plant them today. Now these are a thorn variety, so I do have leather gloves, but check out the thorns on these things. They're like little needles, and they just get caught in your clothes, they get caught in your fingers and your skin. It really sucks. We actually have some wild ones growing up the street that I've been playing with, and those hurt. So what I'm gonna do first is actually cut these open, and they're supposed to soak in water for about 10 minutes before planting. The instructions said not to soak them for more than an hour. I think 10 minutes should be good since they just came and they're still moist in the packet. All right, I better put my gloves on because these are gonna be sharp. All right, it's kind of gross looking. You can see it's got this like gelatin on it just to kind of keep it damp while it's in shipping. And also, if I wanted to wait like another month before planting these, all I have to do is keep this moist around the roots. And I also have to keep it at 30 to 40 degrees so they don't like come out of dormancy. So I believe I bought 3 plants. They're all tied together right now. Oh, actually it's a few of them. They sent me like multiple cuttings. These are like a little bit of root and everything on them. So we've got the root, and then this is just the dead cane. That'll get pruned like later in the season once the new stuff starts growing. I'm gonna go ahead and put these in the bucket and soak them. And then we'll start a clock for about 10 minutes, and then we'll put them in the ground. They look so dead. I'm actually like scared that they're completely dead and not just dormant. Okay, they're just about done soaking, but I wanted to make a quick note. I do have this bag of sulfur here. Since the pH of the bed is about 7.5, I went and bought a bag of 90% sulfur. I actually don't want to put this in the soil when I plant the cuttings because I don't want it to burn the roots or anything. So if I would have planned ahead, I could have amended the soil in the fall with a few cups of sulfur, and then I could have had that process going. That way my soil is a little more acidic. But instead, I'm gonna wait until I see some new growth off these cuttings, and then I'll sprinkle some sulfur around with some fertilizer as well in the springtime. There are 6 cuttings in here, and I want to do 3 separate sections, so I'm going to dig 3 holes and put 2 in each hole, and then from there they'll just kind of propagate, and I'll kind of keep them contained to each of their sections. I don't want this whole thing to fill up because then it just looks trashy and it's hard to maintain. So let's go ahead and plant these things. Okay, I decided I'm not actually going to rake all the hay away. I'm just going to open up a little spot where I want to plant, so I'll probably do, it looks like I can do about 2 or 3 feet apart. I'll try to stay about 2 feet from the pole, go another 2 feet, right in there looks good. And then I'll do a final one right here. Now this soil is perfectly sandy and loamy, and the blackberries should be very happy in here once I get the pH down a little bit. So since these cuttings aren't very long, I actually only need to cover 1 inch or 1/2 inch above the roots. And so I'm only gonna dig a hole probably, what is that, maybe 6 inches. I want it to be loose in the hole, and then I'll backfill it with the dirt. One problem I saw was that people tend to bury them too deep or too shallow, so we'll try to find that happy medium. I'll make sure the dirt's all loose in there. I'm gonna go ahead and take 2 cuttings. I'm actually gonna take a small one and a large one. That way they have a fighting chance. And I'm just gonna plant them side by side in here. Okay, so I'm just gonna put the cutting in there. I'm gonna hold it about 1 inch or 1/2 inch below the surface. And then I'm just gonna fill some dirt in around it. And I'm gonna do the same with this other little cutting. So I'll have 2 in each hole. Now it also says to pack the dirt around the roots. And so I want to make sure there's not a lot of air in there. Okay, we've got our first set of canes planted. I'm going to go ahead and cover them back up with straw. This will keep the ground from getting too cold in the winter. I'm really not sure what the lowest point is. A couple years ago we had a really bad ice storm and it just destroyed everything, so better safe than sorry. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing for the next 2 beds and then we'll discuss a little bit about the Kiowa Blackberry variety. All right, just to give you an idea of what kind of soil you're looking for blackberries, this is perfect. I can squeeze it, and then when I push it, it just breaks right apart. It's that perfect sandy loam. This is what blackberries are gonna love. Okay, I know it's not much to look at, but we've got our 2 canes here. They actually sent me 7 of them, so we've got 2 there. We've got another 3 here. This big one is the one I almost forgot. So there's 3 there, and then we've got 2 little ones here. So I'm gonna dump a little bit of water on each of them, just left over from the bucket they soaked in, and that'll be the end of the planting. All right, we'll get one last look at the blackberry bed. You can see we've got them all planted and tucked in, nice and warm for the winter. So I picked the Kiowa variety for a couple of reasons. First, they're very hardy producers, and they also have very large fruit. So just 10 of them can fill like a half pint, I think. Second, they also have a really long harvest season. So you can harvest for about 6 to 8 weeks once they mature. These blackberries will actually take 2 years before I can harvest off of them. This first year is just gonna be, I think they call it the permacanes or something. I don't remember what the first one is. But the second one is the floricane, and that's when they actually produce flowers and they produce fruit and you actually get a harvest. So after the canes produce fruit, then they're useless and you have to trim them back, and then the new ones come up and then you get a new harvest. So the challenge with this bed is going to be keeping it organized and making sure I keep it all pruned, make sure I keep my trellises going, that way it doesn't just sprawl all over the place and make a mess. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, hit that thumbs up. I know I enjoyed getting them in the ground. I'm very excited to actually be able to get blackberries from these instead of having to get them from Aldi. When they would go on sale at Aldi, I'd get like 6 packs of them, so really excited to have my own harvest. With that, I hope your day is awesome, and get out there and keep growing it yourself.